What I've been trying to do on this channel is present a lot of academic sources to build up my own foundation so I can express myself fully in the future. Because I recognize that a very important thing for people is the halo effect. And this is something I lack currently. And I see this on social media where people will try and get life advice from bodybuilders, people with nice cars like Tai Lopez. He'll have like a Lamborghini, a Rolls Royce, a Ferrari in front of his house, and then come outside and start preaching some wisdom, and people buy into it because that's the halo effect, right? And if I'm not, I can't remember correctly, but I think the halo effect is where because you kind of look good in one area of your life or one aspect of your person is really cool, it influences how people perceive all other areas of your life or all other aspects of yourself. So that's the halo effect, right? So if I look really good as a person, you'll also think I'm really wise. I'm really good at everything I do and stuff, right? So I got to build up that halo effect to get more credibility. That's just what I think. So until then, I've been using my other videos, just presenting books, presenting articles, just to build up the foundation of knowledge until I get the halo effect to make a bigger impression on people. Because that is something I want to do. I want to get through to people. I want to get my ideas to matter to people and to get them out there, right? However, I'm going to start this second series of what I'm going to call half-baked thoughts, just so that I get my own ideas out there. And these ideas are going to be triggering. Just to warn you guys, they're not backed by anything academic. Like, I mean, yes, they're backed by my experience and all I've read, but I can't really cite anything to back up what I'm going to say. So let's start with one thought I had today. Actually, it's a thought I had a while back. So I'm going to first read a Facebook post I wrote a long, long time ago, in 2019. It's very triggering, just to caution you guys, okay? And I'm going to build on this. So I wrote, it seems you need two minds to operate in the world. One mind that allows you to be compassionate in light of the deterministic nature of life, where everyone is the flowering of manifold influences, be they genes, upbringing, social conditioning, whatever. And another mind that allows for full self-possession without guilt. Overdeveloping the first mind can make you a pussy, and it's refreshing to find your own agency again, to be me against this fucking world again and try to get ahead. Okay, so that is obviously very triggering because I use the P word, not supposed to, but I'm going to build on this. What I want to get to is we all have these two hats that we wear. One hat is the self that wants to get ahead in the world, that is willing to look at your own life and realize how fucked up it is at times and try to move ahead to try and improve. The second hat you wear, which I think has a deleterious effect on the first self, and that second hat you wear is the arguer, okay? The advocate for yourself. And I've been reading another book called Enigma of Reason, which argues for the social interactionist theory of reasoning, which is basically that reasoning developed to justify yourself and persuade others, okay? Now, you don't have to buy that paradigm. I'm going to present that at a later date, that book. But just see the truth in that, okay? At once, you're not only trying to live your own life, but you're trying to persuade others to see yourself in a certain way. So if I'm to accept that my life sucks, that I'm in a shitty position, there's also a threat to the self that I feel, that I cannot expose that to other people. I need to look to other people as if I'm a good person, that I'm being virtuous and stuff, right? So that ties into, I think, therapy because, and here I'm going to bring in the idea of validation. What is the real role of validation, okay? I'm going to argue that validation has the purpose of allowing someone to shift from the self that's an advocate to the self that needs to make change. Okay, that's the real role of validation. And unfortunately in therapy, I keep seeing that people go too much one way or the other. So you'll have idiots saying, fuck you, take responsibility, right? You're a piece of shit, take responsibility. Okay, what's that going to do? It's going to switch you into the advocate mode where, no, look at all the shit that made me fucked up, that brought me to where I am today. I was, whatever, there's like all these influences. I'm not going to go into them, they're triggering, but okay. Or they'll go in the other way and they just start validating you completely. And this, I feel like you get in therapy where now you find people locked into the identity of being the anxious person, where everyone they talk to is just like, oh, don't feel bad. Okay, all this shit happened to you. You have anxiety. It's okay for you to be fucked up. Okay, we're going to make you feel good. And that's validation taken to the extreme. I think in therapy you need to realize what is the function of validation and only take it as far as it needs to go. And again, that's to take someone from being an advocate for themselves where they can't make change because they're just trying to argue for why they're so fucked up in the first place, right? And to just tell someone in that position, take responsibility, is to invalidate their entire being and all the influences that went into making that person. It's like if someone tells me, fuck you, just go outside, go do this shit, right? I'm not gonna just go do that shit because then it's like it's like an acquiescence that I wasn't being virtuous in the first place. I wasn't doing all I could in the first place. I'm gonna try and argue for myself first. I'll be like, okay, look at all this shit that made me the way I am today, and this is my excuse for being a fuck up. That's the advocate hat that I wear, okay? Now, if someone first, when they approach me, they say, okay, shit, I realize what you've been through, okay? And this is, this is normal. There are other people who have also gone through the same thing. Fuck, it sucks, right? Now, what are you going to do about it? At that point, I'm not going to argue for myself. I'm just going to make the change because I'm happy that I was validated. It didn't negate my being. It didn't negate my past. But now I agree with the other person that now I need to make change and I need to do things different. Okay, I need to accept that not everything is perfect in my life. That I'm not handling things perfectly. Okay, so only take validation that far. Can't remember what else was. Oh yeah, okay. The injunction. Okay, self-response. Fuck. When somebody tells you take responsibility, I want people to understand what that really is, because the way it's framed is an accusation, and it calls up an inner man upon whom all influences just stop. All explanations of behavior stop. So it's like if I tell you take responsibility, I'm just ignoring the fact of how much shit has gone into making you that way. Okay, I'm just invoking that inner man in you as if it's impregnable. Nothing influenced it. You take responsibility, right? That is a misunderstanding. If you're going to, and this, I'm going to call it an injunction to take responsibility. I think it's very useful for sure, right? It's going to galvanize you to take action. But you have to see it as an injunction, something I'm enjoining you to take responsibility. It's an influence in itself. It's not an accusation. It is just another influence that's going to change the decisional balance in your brain to act one way instead of another, okay? So I'm just going to keep going, fuck it. So this concept of decisional balance I think is so useful, okay? You got to start seeing everybody as if they have a decisional balance in their head, and you don't know what that is, okay? So everybody has pros and cons that are going to factor into how they behave going forward, okay? And so from the outside it might seem like, why doesn't this guy just fucking stop drinking, get his shit together? But inside their head there's like a scale, and there's all sorts of shit going one way to get better, and all sorts of shit on the other side of the scale saying, okay, go for that bottle. Okay, that's a decisional balance in their brain, and there's no way out of it. Okay, in a further video, I'm going to argue for why things like merit don't exist. Desert doesn't exist. Desert as in you deserve something. Fucking retribution doesn't exist in the justice system. These are all outgrowths of an erroneous way of thinking about the self, as if free will exists, as if you can be just apart from all the influences that go into you. That's bullshit. And I'm sorry, I've tried this making a video like this before, and I lost like 3 subscribers. Well, fuck it. It is triggering, and I will argue for it in the future properly. But just realize that even the injunction for somebody to take responsibility is an influence itself that changes the decisional balance in that person's brain. So instead of levying it as an accusation, you levy it carefully, measuredly, okay, so that you don't switch that person into being an advocate where now they have to argue for why they're so fucked up. You want to give just enough validation that they feel like, okay, myself is not under threat, and now, yes, I can admit I'm not doing everything I could be doing, and I'm going to do better, okay? So you want to switch them from being an arguer for themselves to being someone who takes responsibility, who takes self-possession, self-ownership, and goes forward. If you just start with the injunction for self-responsibility without validating the other person, then that person feels their self is under threat and they need to argue for themselves first. Okay? So be very careful with how you use validation. Using it in the extreme makes people get stuck in the identity of being the anxious person, being the depressed person, being the person who had whatever shit happen to them, okay? And I saw this in therapy. I was in anxiety groups. People don't get better. They're stuck for years visiting therapists, and that's such a comforting identity of being the victim, because it means you don't need to change. It's a very comfortable place to be. And I know that's triggering also to say that But yeah, you don't want someone to get stuck in identity. You want to get through to them that they need to make a change, but you do need to validate them. Otherwise, they'll go the other extreme and just start arguing against you. Okay, whatever. So that's a half-baked thought for today. In the future, I'll try and unpackage these concepts that I've mentioned and try to justify them properly.